PAP MP Michael Palmer, Chairman of Workers' Party Sylvia Lim, Secretary-General of the Singapore Democratic Party Dr. Chee Soon Juan, and Secretary-General of the Reform Party Kenneth Jeyaretnam spoke at the forum GE 2011, What is at Stake for Singapore, organised by the National University of Singapore Political Science Association alumni on Wednesday. The debate was conducted in front of more than 300 students and covered a range of topics from civil liberties to transport. We bring you the entire debate on Razor TV.
You're asking me because...
Just what your opinion is on whether
Actually, interestingly, I'm a resident of Jurong GRC, which is the GRC in question. In fact, in Parliament, there was this a motion, I think, filed, and it was discussed. And, we pointed out that this thing about what happens if one of the members of the GRC, can't carry on during the term of Parliament, how is this going to be dealt with is actually not provided for. Of course, everybody realizes that, yes, there is a problem now. There is some underrepresentation of the people in Jurong. Mathematically, that has to make sense because you're supposed to have, how many voters to how many MPs, there's a certain ratio. And then when you talk about how these voters' concerns are being addressed in Parliament, there are certain standing orders in place about how many questions can be asked by each MP and so on and so forth. So the extent to which the other MPs can actually make up for the absent member is actually questionable to me. But the problem with that highlights further the concept of GRCs being itself problematic, as in the mischief that could happen if a by-election is required for every time that there is a vacancy within a GRC, means that it is possible, that one particular member of the GRC could hold the rest to ransom by threatening to leave, or if something happens to that person, there'll be lots of upheaval. So fundamentally, there is a big problem with the GRCs, and our position really is that there's no need for them and they should be abolished.
I can't comment on the survey because I don't know the statistics and the details of how wide your survey was. But at the end of the day, within a GRC system, I'm not going to rehash all the reasons for why we want a GRC. I think all of you are aware of the PAP's position on why we think the GRC system works. And I suppose to a certain extent, I'm a product of that system. But if you look at the by-election, first of all, Sylvia's position is that it wasn't provided for. Our position was that based on advice, that it was not legally required. A by-election was not legally required. Then you have to look at the remaining MPs in the GRC and whether they were able to represent the people within that GRC and engage the people. And they were able to do that. They covered the MP that had passed away, Dr. Ong, and there was no gap in the representation of the people. Now, it was a strain. I will admit that. You move from a 5-man to a 4-man or 6-man to a 5-man. There is a strain, obviously, but a question is whether the people are ably represented or not. And my position was that they were ably represented.
I think it's indefensible to keep a seat vacant through the GRC system when an MP dies or is incapacitated. In fact, I remember that one of the last things my father was doing before he died, Mr. J.B. Jeyaretnam, was to try and bring a suit under the Constitution to force the government to hold a by-election in Jurong. Unfortunately, he died before this could be heard. So that was struck out.